Your future self needs you to know this. You keep thinking your life is waiting on something: the relationship, the message, the money, the opportunity, the breakthrough, the version of you that finally feels ready. You keep telling yourself that once things change, everything inside you will finally settle. You'll feel calm. You'll feel chosen. You'll feel safe enough to breathe deeply again. But your future self is gently asking you to pause for a moment and see something differently. Because nothing real is missing from you, even if it feels like something is. Even if your heart aches sometimes when you wake up in the morning. Even if you scroll through everyone else's lives wondering why things seem easier for them and not you. Even if there are nights where you quietly wonder whether life forgot about you altogether. Your future self needs you to understand this clearly. What's happening right now is not punishment. It's not abandonment. It's not failure. And it isn't proof that you're unworthy of the life you desire. It's exposure. Life has a strange way of revealing the places inside of us that still need love, that still need care, the things that feel distant, the things that haven't arrived yet, people who walked away, the dreams that didn't unfold the way you had hoped. They expose the hidden beliefs that you've been carrying for years. The belief that you have to earn love, the belief that rest must be deserved, the belief that your worth depends on how much you achieve, the belief that being chosen by someone else determines your value. And maybe no one ever taught you how deeply those beliefs shape your reality. Maybe no one ever told you the pain you feel isn't always coming from what happened. Sometimes it comes from what the experience made you believe about yourself. Your future self says that this is important because part of you still believes when the relationship comes, I'll finally feel whole. Or when the money comes, then I'll finally relax. Or when my life looks successful enough, then I'll feel worthy. Or even when someone finally chooses me completely, then I'll stop questioning myself. But your future self is softly smiling right now because they already know something that you don't fully see yet. Those beliefs are backwards. It's backwards. You were never supposed to build your worth around external things because external things change. People change. Circumstances change. Money moves. Opportunities come and go. Even seasons of life shift constantly. And if your sense of self is attached to those things, your peace will always be temporary. Always. You will never achieve peace if your peace is in something else. If your peace is tied to someone else or something else. Your future self says the real transformation begins the moment you stop asking the world for permission to become yourself. Not the filtered version of you, not the smaller version that keeps everyone comfortable, not the exhausted version that's constantly trying to prove they deserve love. The real you, honest you, the soft you, powerful you, the deeply feeling you, the version of you that stopped apologizing for fully existing. Your authentic self. Because somewhere along the way, you learned to shrink. You learned to become easier to handle, easier to accept, easier to love. You learned to silence your needs, to over explain your emotions, to tolerate things that hurt you because you were afraid of losing people. And your future self wants to hold your face gently and tell you you were never meant to abandon yourself just to keep others comfortable. You were never meant to survive your life by becoming smaller. You were meant to live it fully. You were meant to experience joy without the guilt, rest without shame, love without fear, success without constantly questioning whether you deserve it. You were meant to take up space. And I know a part of you struggles to believe that because maybe life has been heavy for a long time. Maybe disappointment taught you to expect less. Maybe heartbreak taught you to guard yourself. Maybe rejection convinced you that being fully seen was dangerous. But your future self says none of those experiences were meant to define you forever. They were just chapters, not your entire identity. They were just chapters, not the entire book. And this matters because you've spent so much time trying to become someone better that you forgot you were already worthy before you even started. You were already worthy before you started. You were already worthy before you became more productive. You were already worthy before you became more attractive. You were already worthy before you became more healed, before you became more successful, before you learned all the right spiritual language, before you fixed every flaw that you think you have. Your worth was never conditional. It only became buried underneath fear. And fear has been speaking very loudly in your life lately. Fear tells us all kinds of things, all kinds of lies. Fear will tell you that you're behind. Fear will tell you that everyone has it figured out except you. Fear tells you that your timeline is wrong or that your timing is wrong. Fear tells you that you've missed your chance, that you've missed your opportunity, that you've missed the boat. But your future self says none of that is true. You are not behind. You are becoming. And there's a difference. Flowers don't bloom all year long. The moon doesn't stay full every single night. Even nature understands timing. So, why do you expect yourself to constantly have everything figured out? Your future self says you've been too hard on yourself, that you've been measuring your life by visible results while ignoring the invisible growth happening inside of you. The boundaries that you're finally starting to set, the patterns you're beginning to recognize, the moments you chose peace instead of chaos, the times you walked away from what no longer aligned. That matters, even if nobody is applauding, and especially if nobody is applauding, because you don't need their applauds, approvals, their claps, their hurrahs. You don't need that. Because healing rarely looks glamorous while it's happening. Sometimes healing looks like resting. Sometimes it looks like crying. Sometimes it looks like outgrowing people you thought would stay forever. And yeah, that could hurt. Parts of healing does hurt. It's kind of like as a kid when you scabbed your knee. You fell down on the pavement and you scabbed your knee, and it hurts that first day and you pour peroxide on it and whatever. That hurts. As it heals, then it gets itchy, it gets scabby, it gets bothersome, and it might even get more itchy right before it's totally healed. That is healing. Your future self knows how deeply you've grieved versions of your life that never happened. The relationships that you hoped would last, the friendships that you thought were real, the future you imagined in your mind. There are pains that you never fully spoke about out loud because you didn't think anyone would understand them. But your future self understands. He remembers every silent heartbreak you survived. Every moment you smiled when inside you were secretly struggling. Every time you questioned your value because someone failed to see it. Every night where you wondered whether things would ever truly change. And she needs you to know this. You survived all of it. You might not have done it in the most graceful way, but you survived. And there is strength in that. Even if you don't feel strong yet, your future self says that one day you'll look back at this version of you with so much compassion, and not with judgment, but with compassion, because you'll realize you were carrying emotional weights that you were never meant to carry alone. You were trying to heal while still being hurt, trying to stay hopeful while being exhausted, trying to become better while secretly feeling unworthy. And of course, you felt overwhelmed. You're human. And despite everything, there is still softness inside of you. Your heart is not hard. And that matters more than you realize. The world has tried to convince people that becoming hardened is strength. Being hard means you're tough. Your future self says that your softness is sacred. Your ability to love deeply, to care deeply, to hope again after disappointment, to remain open hearted after pain, that is strength. Please don't lose that part of yourself. Protect it, honor it, but don't destroy it just because life hurt you. Your future self says the version of you waiting ahead is not powerful because everything is perfect. She's powerful because she stopped abandoning herself finally. That's shift. Becoming someone else, not forcing outcomes, not chasing validation, not exhausting yourself trying to control every aspect of your future. Just returning to yourself. Returning to what feels true, what feels peaceful, returning to what feels aligned instead of fake and performative. Because for so long, you've been living in survival mode, and that changes people. It teaches people how to stay hyper alert, to overthink everything, to expect disappointment before the joy arrives. Your future self says that you don't have to live in survival forever. You are allowed to feel safe now, safe to rest, safe to trust, safe to stop constantly preparing for loss. And maybe that feels unfamiliar. Maybe peace feels unfamiliar because chaos became the norm. But unfamiliar does not mean wrong. The future self says that this next chapter of your life requires something different from you. Not more force, more trust. Trust in your own inner voice. Trust in your own intuition. Trust that what's meant for you will not require you to betray yourself to receive it. Because anything that costs you your self worth is too expensive. Anything that costs you your joy, your peace, or your happiness is way too expensive. Anything that requires you to constantly prove your value is not aligned in love. Real love does not make you beg for basic care. Real love does not punish you for having emotions. Real love does not disappear every time things feel inconvenient or uncomfortable. And this applies to more than just relationships, like more than just romantic relationships. It applies to friendships, it applies to careers, to employers, to environments, to every relationship that you might have. Your future self says the life you desire begins the moment you stop treating yourself like someone who is unworthy of receiving it. That means speaking to yourself differently, not being cruel, not being critical, not with constant criticism, not with shame every time you make a mistake, with patience, with compassion, with love, with learning, with understanding, with growth. You are learning. You are unlearning. You are becoming aware of patterns that once controlled your entire life unconsciously. That is huge, even if progress feels slow. Your future self says that healing is not linear. Some days you'll feel empowered. Some days Old wounds will reopen unexpectedly. Some days you'll feel deeply connected to yourself. Other days you'll feel lost again. It doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're human and that you're having a human experience. Please stop expecting yourself to heal perfectly. There is no perfect healing journey. There's only honesty. And your future self says honesty will free you faster than performance ever will. Be honest about what hurts. Be honest about what you need. Be honest about what no longer feels good or what no longer feels aligned. Because every time you ignore your truth to keep others happy or comfortable, you move further away from yourself. Your future self says that you've done enough abandoning yourself in one lifetime. It's time to come home to a place, to yourself, to the version of you that existed before fear convinced you that you weren't enough. That version is still there, still waiting patiently underneath all the self doubt, underneath all the overthinking, underneath all the pressure you've been placing on yourself. And slowly, you're finding your way back. That's why certain things no longer resonate the way they used to. That's why some relationships feel heavier now. That's why pretending feels exhausting. Your soul is asking for alignment, not performance, not fakery. And alignment often requires letting go of old identities, old coping mechanisms, old stories about who you think you have to be in order to deserve love. Your future self says this release may feel uncomfortable at first, but it creates space for peace, for clarity, space for relationships that nourish instead of drain you, space for opportunities actually align with your spirit. Because what's meant for you will not require constant self betrayal. What is yours will not require you to betray yourself. What's meant for you will not require you to abandon yourself to keep it. And strangely enough, the things you've been desperately chasing often begin finding you the moment you stop believing you're incomplete without them. When you stop clinging, you soften. When you soften, you trust. When you trust, you stop operating from fear. And when fear no longer controls your decisions, your life begins changing naturally. Your future self says the peace you're searching for is not hiding somewhere outside of you. It begins within the way you speak to yourself, the way you care for yourself, the way you allow yourself to exist without constantly needing to earn your place in the world. You belong here. Not once you're perfect, not once you achieve some goal, not once everyone approves of you. Now, as you are now, messy, healing, growing, learning, trying, you belong here. Your future self needs you to hear this. You are not broken. You are not too late. You are not difficult to love. You are not failing at life because your journey looks different than someone else's. Some souls bloom quietly. Some transformations happen invisibly before they become visible. Trust your timing. Trust your becoming. One day, the version of you watching this video will feel so distant. Not because you became someone entirely different, but because you finally learned how to stop fighting yourself. You finally learned how to choose yourself. So breathe slowly. There is still time for your life to become beautiful in ways you cannot even imagine yet. There is still time for love that feels safe, for friendships that feel nourishing, for mornings that feel peaceful instead of heavy, for purpose that feels aligned instead of forced. Your story is not over. In many ways, it's just now beginning. And your future self wants you to remember one final thing. You were always worthy of the life that you keep dreaming about. Until next time, stay magnetic, friends.